concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Livestream. I am so happy to be with you here tonight, a Monday night. It is a freaking beautiful day here. It's the first day where you think, oh, fall is coming, and that means that the 2 weeks, in every spring and every fall, where Knoxville is the perfect temperature, where you don't have to run your air conditioning or your heating, and you can just open all your windows and the beautiful air comes in. You go outside and you don't need a coat, but it's not hot either, and you just want to go roll around in the grass. Those 2 weeks must have begun because the weather was perfect today. Perfect. Beautiful. The bad news is that in 2 weeks it'll be cold. Apparently. That's how it goes. So there you go. That's what I did today, and now it's over, and I'm here. I am here with you to talk about FPV. Oh, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk about FPV. Oh. Oh no! Hold on. I can't do this. I can't let this mess not stand. Oh, there we go. Oh, now that's a live stream, baby. Oh, there we go. Whew. That was close. People ask me, is spring or fall my favorite season? And I don't know. But it's not summer, I'll tell you that. It's not summer and it's not winter. Summer, I mean, I think that summer is my third favorite season. Winter is my least favorite season. That's why I live in the South. Welcome to Livestream, everybody. It's so good to be here with you. We're going to answer some questions about FPV. I'll be taking your questions. We got a question here from Jay Garcia. Probably the Jay Garcia? Probably not. Question here from Jay. He's dead. Question here from Jay Garcia about recording audio from his Evoke. You can't do that. Are we muted? No, there's audio. Riet, there definitely is audio. You don't scare me like that, but the Cadix Vista can't record or transmit audio. You're shit out of luck, my friend. Can't do it. You got to go back to analog. Ha! No, don't do that. You're going to take your questions. I'm going to be taking your questions here in the chat. I'm going to be paying attention to these beautiful, beautiful sausages over in the Discord server. These are my patrons, and they make sure that I don't have to go get a real job. For some reason, they've decided to sign up and support me, and as thanks, I let them join my Discord server. The Discord server, people say, you know, I know a lot of people on YouTube, etc. They Stevens Box, the Aero unit does do audio, but the Evoke comes with the Vista, which doesn't do audio, right? I think. A lot of people will just give out their Discord invite. They just give it out, and they let everybody on their Discord, and I don't. And the reason I do that is that by the time I started a Discord server, I had almost nothing left that I could make exclusive. I gave away all my videos. I answer everybody in email and messages. And I was like, there's got to be like one thing that only the patrons get. What can it be? And the Discord server was like all I had left. But I also kind of like the idea. I would go on other people's Discord servers, and it's a little trying to think of the right word to use without insulting anybody or pissing anybody off. It's a little hectic. A lot of Discord servers are a little hectic. Mine is a little more exclusive. Anyway, thank you, patrons. There you are. Oh, and you get access to beautiful, beautiful GIFs like this. Oh. I mean, there's nothing wrong with hectic. People like hectic. Some people like hectic. Some people like a little quieter. Yeah. But I will be taking your questions here in the chat, like that question from Jay Garcia. And if you want to make sure I get your question, hit the $sign down here. Leave me a super chat. Throw a couple bucks in my face and at YouTube's face, since they take like 30% something of what they take a huge percentage of every super chat. But what can you do? And I will read those a little later in the stream. I like to take inspiration from other YouTubers. I like to look at what other YouTubers are doing that works and think about ways that I could implement that. Some people would call that stealing their ideas. I don't think that's how it works. So I look at Mr. Beast because he does YouTube better than anybody. I saw a video from him today. It just was on my Facebook scroll, where he paid these guys $1 every time they threw a football back and forth. Right? They just sat there and they threw the football 500. I don't know how they threw it a lot of times. And if they dropped the football once, then it was all wiped out. And then he started upping the stakes. He was like, I'll give you $10,000 if you go 10 yards apart and throw the football. You know, I'll give you $20,000 if you do like a Hail Mary into the end zone. You know, and I thought, could you do something like this with FPV? I don't know. I just literally that's how my brain works. Like, could you do, I don't know. Could you do like, you have to power loop inverted through a whoop gate. I don't know. What's like throwing a football 10 yards and catching it. It's one of those things that is easy to do, but after you've done it 500 times, you're going to get tired and you could screw up. Like, the stakes are real. I was trying to think, what trick would you have somebody do if you were going to do something like that with FPV? Kind of like an IGOW competition, RC Addict has said. Yeah, so IGOW makes me think that maybe I would just lose all my money because somebody out there would do 5,000 power loops. I've seen IGOW. It's insane. The other thing is that you're going to get a break because you're going to have to swap batteries. So I don't know how you would handle that. I don't know. And you see the guys at like the endurance races, the FPV endurance races, they'll race for 14 hours. Of course, it's not 14 hours straight. They swap in, but I don't know. I was thinking, could you do something like that? We'll have to see. 10K to Matty flip a bridge 10 kilometers out. Wow. I don't know. I have to think about it. Solder 500 motors. That's good. Jan Grudnicki. Let's take questions. Let's start taking questions. Jan Grudnicki. Jan Grudnicki says, based on the technology used, should OcuSync 3 air unit have better range than the current air unit Vista? Yes. And I have seen that borne out by the people who've tested them. Nobody has tested, as far as I mean, maybe somebody has. I don't know if anybody's tested the Avata out to, you know, whatever, 40 kilometers. I don't know if the Avata could possibly stay in the air that long. But as soon as the air unit, the O3 air unit is available standalone to put onto our own drones, we're going to get somebody like Wesley Vardy doing range testing. The videos I have seen suggest that it has better range than the original through whatever. And it's doing 1080, which is should make the range worse. But there you go. OcuSync A3 should have better range than the current Air Unit Vista. Spark Sam 81 asks, is there a good video about how to root hack the DJI V2 goggles? Spark Sam, I have one in, it's edited, it's made, and it's waiting to release because the FPV, pardon me if you've heard me talk about this on a previous live stream, but I'm dying to release this video. The FPV WTF devs requested that I not release it because there are still a couple of bugs that they're tracking down. And when you get hit by one of those bugs, you can't root the goggles and it just doesn't work. And they think that if I released a video and then, 500 people got hit by that bug, it would, number one, piss those people off. And number two, generate a lot of support requests for the devs. So they have requested that I hold the video until they fix all the bugs. I want to release it because I know it will do well and I know there's a lot of interest. But for the time being, it's not available, unfortunately. I'm sure they're working as fast as they can on getting it fixed. I should just put it up unlisted and release it for my patrons only. I mean, that would be a cool thing to do because at least then somebody would get to benefit from it. Maybe I'll do that. I want to thank Fabio Pansera, my editor. He edits my videos, and he is a key part of my success and my life. I say that because before I hired Fabio, I would shoot a video and then edit a video pretty much not every day, but like 5 days a week. And it was preposterous, and I don't know how I did it. I probably just didn't see my family at all. And now I have Fabio, so I shoot a video and then send it to him to edit. And that is great. He sent me some pretty classy bourbon, which I am enjoying tonight. So if I get, I didn't put enough in the cup to really get me in trouble, but if I get, if I do a giveaway later in the live stream, you can thank Fabio for that. He sent me it for my birthday on February, and it came in roughly February. And I looked at it. I appreciated it. I read the note that came with it. I tried it. I sampled it. And I'm sure we must have talked about it, but a little, like last week he said, hey, did you ever get that bourbon I sent you? And I was like, no, I don't think I did. He was like, fuck. It was a really expensive bottle of bourbon. I was like, wait. Hold on, let me check. Was it this bottle? He was like, yes. I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm halfway through that. Oh. All right, more questions. What's the point of the root? Asks OCDFPV. What's the point of the root? What's the point of rooting the goggles is the question. If you root the goggles, then you get access to mods that enhance and change the goggles functionality. Like 3 of the mods that, hold on, my windows are messed up. 3 of the mods that I am using right now you get a full Betaflight OSD. One of the mods gives you that. There's another mod that forces the goggles to start recording the minute that there is an air unit signal. So basically, anytime you have video, the goggles are recording. Thank you. Yes. I don't want to start recording when I arm DJI. Just whenever there's a signal, record it. Obviously, why that makes a lot of sense. So that's a mod that I'm really enjoying. And there's another mod that changes them from 25 megabits to 30 megabits per second and 50 to 60 megabits per second, which should, I haven't tested it yet, but it should get you a little better video. So those are some things you can try if you're rooted. Lord Hendricks asks, why do you throw shade at Steele for using his name to increase his profits, but you used his photo as the cover for your film? I'm asking as a financial supporter. Thank you for your financial support, first of all. Lord Hendricks, I'd be interested to know what I said that you interpreted as throwing shade at Steele. I'd be interested to know which specific thing I said that you interpreted that way. I'm not saying I didn't do it. I'm not going to respond to that question unless I know specifically what I said that you're thinking about. But for the record, Steele very graciously appeared in the film. We thought that it wouldn't, of all the people you needed to interview in a film about FPV, he was near the top of the list, if not the top of the list, of people who, if they're not in the film, people will say, what the hell? How can this film represent FPV if so-and-so isn't in it? And so he was I think, the first person we reached out to interview. And I remember saying to James, if Steele says no, then I'm not sure we can do the film. So I said, Steele needs to be the first person you interview. Because once we get him, then everything else I think we can work around. But if we don't get him, I don't think we can make the film. And he was incredibly gracious, incredibly generous. He actually, James went back and reshot some stuff with him, and he gave James hours of his time. I have nothing but good things to say about him. And then James thought he would be the best person to put on the cover, and he did some posing for James to take pictures of him for the cover and so forth. So that's awesome. But Lord Hendricks, I'm not interested in beating you down. I can remember a comment I made where I was talking about Vanover releasing a bind and fly build, and I think I made a joke like, has he marked it up to $900 like Steele's, and he licks it and he sends it out the door. I vaguely recall making a comment like that. I wouldn't call that throwing shade, not in a serious way. I I would call that, good-natured ribbing amongst peers. But I mean, it's just a fact. It's a fact that Steele's stuff is marked up. It's a fact that because of who he is, he can charge more for his products. I don't feel critical of that. I do acknowledge that as a real thing that happens. But I mean, get your bag. Get your bag. Anyway. Let's see here. Abraham says, Jesse Perkins is the only one I've noted to be obviously missing from the film, other than obvious or unavoidable omissions like Sharpoo. Yeah, we of course would have loved to get Sharpoo. There was no chance that he was going to do it. Johnny FPV is another person that we very much wanted to get. I reached out to Johnny multiple times, and he was not able to do it. Obviously, Johnny is an incredibly busy guy flying around the world. I'm not surprised that he wasn't able to appear. But I feel like the film would have been better if he had been in it in terms of sort of representing FPV. And Jesse Perkins, in fact, I reached out to Jesse sometime back, and I said, there's one other person I said this to. It was Lexi Jansen. Were two people that after the film was made, I was just... in the middle of the night, I was thinking, and I went, how did we not put them in the film? And I can't take you through the whole thought process that led to it, but you know how it goes? Like, you're sitting in a room, and we weren't literally in a room. It was me, James, a few other people who were brainstorming about the film. And we were like, okay, who's going to be in the film? Who are we going to interview? And we were just throwing out names. And we threw out a bunch of names, and it was too many people. And then we started cutting people and being like, okay, let's order them. Who's going to make the film better, and provide a unique perspective. And because obviously you're going to have like one or two cinematic guys, one or two. You can't have like 8 people who all do the same thing in the same film. It's just too expensive to go interview all of them, and it overlaps. And when it was done, we had, I think it was around 11 people. And we were like, okay, that's the A list. That's who we want for the film. And somehow, Jesse Perkins' name didn't get thrown out. And I reached out to Jesse after the film was made, and I said something like, I want you to know that I think the film would have been better with you in it. And I don't know how you got overlooked, but I wish I had included you because you're a really important part of FPV, and I think you would have contributed a lot to making the film better. And I said the same thing to Lexi. We definitely wanted to highlight female pilots in FPV. Number one, just because they're so rare, and because we wanted to represent. We wanted people watching the film to be able to see themselves in the world of FPV, and some of those people watching the film would be female. And we thought of who we could include, and I don't know how, but because obviously I'm friends with Lexi, I talk to her semi-regularly, and I'm not sure how, but again, just when we were sitting in that meeting throwing out names, somehow her name didn't come out. And I think that was an oversight and a mistake. And I said to her, look, I feel like that was a mistake, and I apologize. And I don't know how it happened. But so I agree with you, Abraham. Jesse Perkins is an oversight, and I had that thought, and I didn't think you were being critical. By the way, I just would like to publicly acknowledge that I feel like. There obviously we would have liked to get every single person in FPV represented in the film. We had to pay plane tickets and hotels to go interview these people, so it wasn't possible. We had to make a short list. But there were a few people who, after the film was made, I definitely thought, how did we overlook that person? They really would have made the film better. And Jessie was one of them. And Lexi was another. I'm not going to say who the others were because I don't want to just, but yeah. I have actually thought about other projects that could highlight Jessie because he's such an interesting and passionate dude. None of them have manifested, but I am keeping that in mind. Anyway. And Jesse was super cool about it, by the way. He's ridiculous. He's ridiculous. Uranium Mako Reactra is in the film. Mako is she high school or elementary school? I think she's elementary school. She runs a drone program in her school. And she sort of ticked two sets of boxes. One, in that she's a racing pilot, obviously. She's in the education, so she could focus on the STEM side. And she's a female pilot, which it's tough because people say, well, you put them in the film just because they're female. And it's like, well, if we hadn't made sure that some women got into the film, then there would just, then it would be a huge oversight to not include any women. So we just sat down and said, we have to make sure that some women are in the film. Zoe's another one Zoe though was just not available. The film was made during this period where Zoe just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. Obviously she still exists on the face of the earth, but she really wasn't in touch. I think she was going through some shit. She may still be going through some shit. I'm not sure that she's actually over it, but she just wasn't able to be in the film. So anyway, let's get some super chats. We've got some super chats coming in. We're going to read some super chats. Then we'll take some more questions from the regular chat. 949 Designs, thank you for a $5 super chat. I'm building a speedrun car. I've seen people using aircraft dipole RVers on ground transmitters. Do they need to be the same manufacturer? Aircraft dipole receivers. Oh, you mean they don't need to be the same manufacturer, assuming you're talking about analog. Analog 5.8 gigahertz video, it doesn't matter the manufacturer, they all work together. So that's what I'll say. Unfazed, thank you for $7 Canadian. I have no video in my goggles. I replaced the cable in the camera and still nothing. In the goggles, it doesn't show milliseconds latency, and my megabit per second is at 6 to 7. So unfazed, I assume, first of all, that you're talking about DJI, is my guess. And I assume that the goggles in the video transmitter are bound, so you have green LED. I'm going to assume that. You replace the cable in the camera. You have no video. It sounds like you have a problem with your air unit or maybe your goggles. The low bit rate is not going to be caused by the camera. Okay? I don't think. So I would hope that you have more than one quad to test with. I would say test with other quads, other air units, other Vistas, and see if it's the same for all. If it's the same for all of them, it's obviously a problem with your goggles. Sort of basic process of elimination. Trail Features, thank you for a $5 super chat. Crafted Quads Odonata review video when? I have no idea. What is this Odonata? I'll tell you what. There's a thread here on my Discord server in the buy-sell trade about the Odonata that has been going on. Can I go to the top of the thread somehow? Not very easily. It's been going on for months. And the way Discord threads work is that after so much time of inactivity, the thread is automatically removed. The messages are still in the buy-sell trade, but the actual thread is removed. And so this thread has been active since like May, by all these people hanging out there. What the hell is the Odonata? Somebody's trying to sell it. Udinata. 74 millimeter. Oh, we reviewed that. We talked about this in the new product roundup. This is that open source 74 millimeter frame that you can cut yourself. Is it better than the Bubito? 803 motors, baby. Interesting. Udinata. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to make any promises. It's clearly very popular, though. Aber the Ham, thank you for a $5 super chat. Shout out to Junis and the FPV WTF team for helping me root for like an hour yesterday. If you live in Australia, that sentence is interpreted completely differently. Is it Australia? Is it the UK that rooting is a euphemism for sex? Okay. Now I have full OSD. Must be on 0606 and macOS Breaks DJI Assistant. Jonas, when will the bugs be fixed? Jonas. Is it Jonas? Is it Jonas? How do you even say that name? Jonas, when will the bugs be fixed? He just DM'd me. Oh, I'm going immediately to look at my DMs, but not on stream. I'm not going to look on stream. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. No! Auto start recording, boost bitrate, and enable live audio were pulled? Oh, man. Auto start recording is my favorite. All right, well, it's the takeaway. I'm not going to show the whole message, but the takeaway is that the video will release soon. Okay. Oh. How can I flash an F7 board? Thank you, Matthew DeSimone, for a $2 super chat. Matthew, I feel like there's more to this question that I'm not getting. Flashing an Betaflight flight controller is this. Here's what I'm going to do. Can't type. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a link to my Betaflight complete walkthrough video. And one of the things it walks you through is getting Betaflight set up. Shush, Joshua. Getting Betaflight set up, getting your drivers set up, and flashing. I'm going to hope that that gets you through the process. If you have a more specific question, I guess let me know. But that's the best way I can think of to help you. Betaflight doesn't recognize the target. Okay, that's an interesting question. What flight controller is it, Matthew, and what target? I'll do my best to get you an answer. Which props should I get? Asks Andrew FPV. Read my previous two chats. Andrew, that's okay, that wasn't that long ago. Jay Barnes, if you want to root your goggles, you need to be on the 0606 firmware. The F7 isn't a target. Mamba. Matthew, appreciate the additional super chat. What flight controller is it? Just tell me it's a Diatone Mamba F7 or whatever. And then tell me what target you see on the flight controller currently. Okay? That's what we need in order to proceed. Andrew FPV. Let's see here. Andrew FPV is asking about props. Andrew's got a lot of questions. Oh. Which props did Andrew get for... He has T-Motor Pacer 1750 motors, Azure Johnny props. I want more power. So, Andrew, the Azure Johnny props, I think they're a 4.9-inch prop, and they're low pitch. They're made for smoothness, not power. 1750 kV is okay on 6S, but it's not the mostest power. I would suggest going up to a higher pitch prop, maybe like a 5.1 inch prop, maybe like a 5144 or something. The Azure props are notably underpowered, especially on a 1750 kV motor, which some people would be running like 1900 kV, on 6S. So you combine those 1750 kV motors with the Azure props and you're not going to get the most power. You definitely haven't mentioned the weight of your quad, and obviously weight will affect the power too. If your quad is super light, it's going to feel powerful because it'll make more of the thrust. But go up to like a 5.5144 prop or something like that, and then see if that feels better for you. I think that the 4.9 props, if you're interested in power, the 4.9 are not where you want to be. Looking back again for Matthew DeSimone. It's the Diatone F7 Mamba. Okay. Hey, what a coincidence. That's the exact flight controller I have sitting on my desk right now. So, auto detect. I have Mamba F722 I2C. Is there a reason that you think Mamba F722 I2C is not correct for you, Matthew? That's... Betaflight doesn't recognize it as a target. F722 is the closest. So Diatone has played some little shenanigans with their target names. I think that used to be Diatone F722, and now they've changed it to F722 I2C. Can you try that? If yours is F722, the F722 I2C I think will work. James Rinker says, my port settings won't save. James, the reason your port settings won't save is because you cannot have more than one thing on each UART. So, for example, if I enable Serial RX on UART 1 and I try to enable Smart Audio, for example, then when I save and reboot, that won't save. It'll just reset the tab. I'm going to guess that's what you're doing, and that's why it won't save for you. Just a guess. UC Drones, thank you for 10 Canadian dollars. Updated Sky 04L V2 firmware from 2.3 to 2.4, then both SteadyView receivers from 2.3 to 2.4 and got bad video, color, and breakup. Flashed back to 2.3 and got rock solid feed again. Thoughts? I think you should run 2.3. I don't know what to tell you as to why 2.4 got worse. Presumably there's something about your goggles that 2.4 doesn't like, but 2.3 is better. Stick with 2.3, right? You don't need the bigger numbers just because they're bigger numbers. UC Drones, is there a reason why you feel like you need to be on 2.4? Stevens Box, thank you for a $10 super chat. Thanks for your email help. Where can I go on the web to find the best FPV products and know if they're in stock? Stevens Box, thank you for the opportunity to plug my website. I'm not quite ready yet, but I will do that later in the stream. Eddie Lancaster, thank you for a $10 super chat. I purchased your DIY Bardwell kit on Get FPV. I have a GoPro mount, but it doesn't fit on top of the frame. Can you recommend me a GoPro mount to buy from Get FPV? That's strange. Did you like... You say you have a GoPro mount. I see. It's for a different frame, though. So first of all, the top plate for the GoPro, for the Bardwell QAVS, is the same mounting pattern as the regular QAVS. So any of these QAVS mounts will work for you, okay? Any of these will work for you. That's what I would say. We also have published on Thingiverse an album of mounts that you can print yourself, but I'm guessing if you're buying them from Get FPV that you're not printing on your own. So just wanted you to know you do have the option to do it for free if you have a printer. Chris Sweeting, question is up above a bit. Okay. Chris Sweeting, thank you for a $5 super chat. Bought a bunch of stuff using your links recently. Hopefully it helps. Did you have any rubbing issues with the Specimen pinch sticks and the AGO1s? Yes, absolutely I did. When I installed the AGO1 gimbals in my Radiomaster, they rubbed. because the LEDs lower the gimbals down a little bit, and that changes the geometry such that the sticks rub. I fixed it by turning the limit screws so that the stick doesn't go as high and low, and that, I got a little bit less throw, but it works for me. But yeah, I absolutely did. I think I showed that in the installation video. Pretty sure. But that's what I did. Because I ain't giving up those LEDs, baby. Oh no. I've run out of bourbon. This is unfortunate. Juka Boys in the Discord asks, I was looking at the Betaflight videos and tried to activate the onboard ESC sensor, but I can't get it to activate. The ESC has BLHeli32. So Juka Boys, I hope I'm saying your name close to right. If you have a built-in ESC, what kind of sensor? You're trying to activate the onboard current sensor, I'm guessing. If you're trying to activate the onboard current sensor on your ESC, Juka Boys, what ESC is it? What ESC is it? But what you need to do is, number one, you need to have sensor input ESC for whichever UART the ESC sensor is on. That's going to be determined by the manufacturer who makes the pin layout. So sensor input ESC, okay. Then, they've moved these things around. Hold on, let me double check. It's not here anymore. It's going to be in motors, I think. Yes. In motors, you enable ESC sensor, okay? And then, in the power and battery tab, you change the current meter source to ESC sensor, or the voltage meter, if that's what you're trying to do. And that's how you get that working. It's Pro 55A. So, so the problem is that many ESCs do not report current via ESC telemetry anymore. And this is one of them. So this ESC does support BLHeli telemetry. But you see we got the TX pad right here? That tells you that it supports telemetry. However, you can see right here, there is a single large shunt resistor. That's for the current sensor. In order to do ESC telemetry, in order to report current via ESC telemetry, you need to have 4 separate shunt resistors, one for each ESC. And nobody wants to do that anymore. There was a very short period of time where manufacturers were doing that, and then they were like, that's dumb, and they stopped. So this ESC will report voltage, RPM, and temperature through ESC telemetry. But if you try to go in and choose ESC sensor as the current source, you'll just get 0 amps all day long. It will never show any current. So what you need to do is you need to, oops, back here. You need it for your current source to be onboard ADC. And then you need to find the correct setting for the correct calibration values for the current sensor. It's not here, sadly. It's probably somewhere. But that's the answer to your question. Yeah, the first time I ran into that, it blew my freaking mind. Every ESC that I had seen, excuse me, if it had ESC telemetry, it reported current through the ESC telemetry. And the first time I was trying to set this up, they changed this in one batch of the T-Motor F55A. And I was helping somebody build a quadcopter, and I was like, yeah, to get current sensing working, here's what you do. And I set it up, and I got 0 amps. And I was like, what have I done wrong here? I could not figure it out. And it turned out that they had taken it out. 949, I did respond to your super chat. It was around 8:30. It was around 30 minutes into the stream. You may need to go back. I did respond to your super chat. Okay, continuing with the super chats. Ava FPV says, I sent you a DM on Discord. ESC rebooted mid-flight. Let's see what Ava's up to. Ava says, hi, I'm trying to figure out a weird issue. ESC rebooted mid-flight. I encountered this issue before on the same quad as identical twin. First time was a super gentle Cinewhoop cruising. This time was during tuning flippy flops. Has not been a regular issue, and the only similarity is that the motors were scorching hot. Okay, so anytime you're flying and your motors are scorching hot, well, number one, I'd just be worried about burning a motor. And I'd wonder if, like, something's up with your gyro, your PID tune, your filters that's causing the motors to be hot. Now, it's tricky because Cinewhoops usually run hot because they're carrying a lot of weight. The GoPro, if you've got a GoPro on a Cinewhoop, it's normal for the motors to run a little hot. But if they are scorching hot, probably something is wrong. So the ESC rebooting and the motors being scorching hot could be related. Let's take a look at this video. We'll unmute the desktop. I hear a little twitch there. Did you hear that? Not there. Go back a little further. Yeah, do you hear the motors going tick 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 even when the quad is just hovering? Listen. Right there. Do you hear that? Tick 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 tick. The motors are super. They're having a problem. Right there. Oh, big shudder there. You see it went whoop up after the roll? Right there. Whoop up. Something's wrong with the tune. Okay, now, what's that sound? That's not the standard startup sound. Okay, so that was the startup music from the ESC. So the ESC had a full reboot. Okay, Ava, the first thing I would have you do is go back to the default. You said you're doing PID tuning. Go back to the default PIDs and filters. Okay, center up those sliders. The default PIDs and filters are fairly conservative, and if the quadcopter isn't flying like reasonably on defaults, then we have to explain why. I don't know right here whether you've been tuning it and you've like got your D gain super jacked up or something. The rough sounding motors, the kind of the tick 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 tick, and the whop whop at the end of the flip tells me that something's off with the PIDs. Something's off. Like the hot motors and the rough sounding motors tell me that there's excess vibration or electrical noise getting to the gyro. If I knew that you were on default PIDs and filters, then I could comment on that. Ava is typing. We'll see if there's more information coming. Normal build with the RPM filtering preset. The only real change to tuning is MM at 1.2. What's MM? What's MM? RPM filtering preset. Oh, Ava. Did you set your motor pole count correctly? If you're on Cinewhoop motors, you may only... Oh, master multiplier. Thank you. If you're on Cinewhoop motors, your motors may have 12 magnets instead of 14. That would cause your RPM filters to be whacked out and make a lot of problems for you. That could explain it. Master multiplier at 1.2 is probably fine. If you hadn't changed your filters at all, double check the pole count. Some Cinewhoop motors will have 14 poles, 14 magnets. Some will have 12, depending on what motors you've got. So just turn the motor upside down and count the magnets around the outside. So something's up with your filtering or with your flight controller, your gyro. With a master multiplier at 1.2, that should not be flying like this, and the motor should not be scorching hot. Cole Powers asks, are just the motors getting hot, or are the screws hot too? Cole, I see where you're going with that. You want to know if there's current going through the motor screws. The problem with that is that oftentimes, in my experience at least, oftentimes if the motor is scorching hot, it will make the screws hot just because it's a big hunk of metal and the heat travels through it. So I don't think that's definitive. I will say, Ava, if you've applied a preset, then we should think about whether that preset contains some settings that are not right for your setup. And anytime you've got gyro noise or electrical noise, then you want to think about the mechanical characteristics of the quad. Is the frame cracked? Is there a loose screw, a loose something causing extra vibration or resonance? The other thing you can do is, if you have hot, Ava, this is a great tip. If you have hot motors, when you arm the quad, take the quad into the bench, plug it into the computer, and spin the motors using the Betaflight Motors tab sliders. If the motors are hot when you arm it, but normal when you use the motor sliders, that 100% tells you the flight controller is the problem. Because the gyro, the PIDs, the filters, all of that stuff is completely disabled when you use the motor tab sliders. And yeah, take your props off before you do that, of course. Just Tech Guy Things asks, can we get a tutorial on how to update the baby ape? I am stupid. Tech Guy Things. If you aren't sure how to upgrade the baby ape, then there's an argument to be made that it's better for you to keep flying it and enjoying it than to try to upgrade it and potentially break it and then be stuck and not be able to fly it. I hesitate. You see me hesitate at the beginning of this because, like, how are you going to learn to do it? Right? How are you going to learn to upgrade your quad if you don't do it? And this is your quad and you want to upgrade it. But I would say, why do you want to upgrade it? So, like, what's going to be the most enjoyable use of your time? If you try to upgrade it and you then, like, render it non-functional and don't know how to get it back, is that, like, the only quad that you have to fly and you're going to be super sad? Are you upgrading it because there's a feature that you want or you think it'll fly better? Or are you upgrading it just because, like, I don't know, there's a new version, I must upgrade it? I don't want to discourage you from enjoying the sort of natural inquisitiveness and curiosity that makes this hobby such a pain in the ass and also enjoyable. But also there's an argument to be made that if you have a quad that flies perfectly good, just fly it and enjoy it. And wait for the time when you go, you know what, Betaflight 4.3 has this amazing feature that I really want. And okay, I gotta upgrade this quad. And if you're already there, then maybe you need to know how to update it. But especially if you're a beginner, most of the time I feel like people just get themselves in a real discouraging situation by trying to upgrade when they don't have a really compelling reason to do it, and then they break their quad and they can't get it back. So Ava, coming back to you real quick. Ava, if you're having to, you said that Brandon Beans gave you some ESC settings that got rid of yaw desyncs. If you're on default PIDs, default filters, and you take off and immediately you're getting yaw desyncs, stop. Something's wrong. Like what I like to say, if I get up and I stand up and I put some weight on my foot, and immediately there's this shooting pain up my ankle, and I collapse on the ground in tears. I don't go, I guess I need a bandage or something, and then just try to keep walking. Something's wrong. I got to get this fixed. If your quad is desyncing randomly, and your motors are scorching hot, yes, we could put a bandage on that and a splint and a crutch, and I could hobble around. And if I was backcountry hiking and I broke my ankle and my only choice to survive was to splint it with some sticks and hobble out on a homemade crutch, I'd do it. But if you've got a brand new quadcopter and it's not flying right and the motors are super hot and it's desyncing, stop. Figure out that shouldn't be happening. And it feels like when you say, well, I changed the ESC settings and now I'm playing with the PIDs, that to me feels like you're splinting this broken ankle and trying to hobble out. But there's no reason for you to do that. You just figure out what's wrong with it. Something's wrong with it. Figure out what's wrong with it and fix the thing that's wrong with it. Because you shouldn't have to be screwing around with those settings just to get it to fly. This is what I would say. Cole Burkle asks, thoughts on the quality of the TX16S internal Express LRS versus a decent external Express LRS module. Cole, this is an easy one. The TX16S internal module outputs 250 milliwatts. External modules can go up to 1 watt. That is a 4x difference in power, and very conveniently, a 4x difference in power roughly equates to a doubling of range, all else being equal. So as a rule of thumb, an external 1 watt module will give you about twice the range, all else being equal, as the internal module on the TX16S. Now, does that matter? It depends on how far you want to fly. But the basic quality of the internal module is great. It's fine. It can do everything you need it to do. The only limitation is that it's 250 milliwatts and not 1 watt. I think that if you must fly at 250 milliwatt, if you must fly at 250 hertz, 500 hertz, or 1000 hertz, then you should think about maybe getting the 1 watt module. If you fly at 50 hertz, nah, you're fine. If you insist on using the ceramic antennas that have worse reception than the actual external antennas, then maybe think about getting the 1 watt module. That's what I would say. If you're willing to fly at 50 hertz, you're going to get great. It's not going to matter. That 250 milliwatts is fine. So it just depends on what you want to do. Let's see here. Egg Manila, thank you for a $20 super chat. That's very generous. I really appreciate your generosity. Finally caught a live stream, and I just wanted to say thank you so much. I've been watching since 2016. Wow, that's almost as long as I've been doing this. All your tutorials, videos, and clips have helped me out a whole lot in the hobby, flying, and my big boy job. Now I wonder what your big boy job is. It's always fun to meet people who do FPV and drone stuff professionally, and they go, yeah, I learned it all from Bardwell. And I'm like, wow. Who knew? Who knew? James Rinker, thank you for a $2 super chat. What UART do I activate with S-Bus? I have your kit. James, I'm happy to... First of all, thank you for buying my build kit. Thank you for your $2 super chat. And I'm happy to answer your question. I do have to say, I made a tutorial video. It shows you... I don't know. Let's look. Oh, you know what? I know the problem. It's because you have S-Bus and I did an Express LRS receiver. Okay, I take it back. I was a jerk. I'll shut up now, except I won't shut up because I'm going to answer your question. I forgot. I forgot that I didn't use an S-Bus receiver on my latest build. That's my bad. I'm such a jerk sometimes. Like, my first reaction is to just be a jerk. What's my problem? I don't know. Ask my therapist. For S-Bus, it's UART 1. It's UART 1. So you're going to solder to the S-Bus pad that's right here. The S-Bus pad, 5 volts and ground. And you're going to use UART 1 in the ports tab. That's the answer. Such a jerk. I'm just like... Oh, I made a video. Why don't you watch the video? Oh, shit. No, the video doesn't cover this. See? Matthew DeSimone, thank you for another DeSimone. Thank you for another $2 super chat. This is the Diatone GT369, the Exorcist 2019 model. We're going back to the question about the diet. I don't know what flight controller is in that, Matthew. Unfortunately. Is that the Fury F4 OSD? No, you said you had an F7. GT369. Exorcist model. Okay. GT369 Exorcist. There is no 369 Exorcist. There's a 549 Exorcist. Which is it? Okay, I assume you've got the 549 Exorcist. Oh, Diatone. Don't do this to me, Diatone. That's not the bind and fly. Dang it. X549 Exorcist, yeah. I think you've got the 549. Okay, what flight controller is in it? Mamba F722. Do we have a target here? We do not. That sucks. I don't know, man. I really think... Oh, here we go. Target, Mamba F722. It's not available yet. So it says it's the Mamba F722 target. So here it is. Wait, okay. There it is. Mamba F722 is the correct target. It's right here. What? Okay. Did you say, but you can't find it. But there it is. Is that the answer? Have we answered your question? The correct target is Mamba F722. Matthew DeSimone. Maybe that's what he needed. Yay! I helped a person. I made the world a better place. Black Jungle 308, thank you for 5 Brazilian reais. Have you ever checked out the Frontier Pilot Simulator VTOL game drone-like flying? I have not. That sounds interesting. Ethan W. wants to know, do we have a confirmed date for the release of the O3 Air unit? We do not. No, we do not. It has been pushed back multiple times. There has been no public announcement, but I know from discussions with people that internally it has been pushed back multiple times. And it may be pushed back again. Who knows? When they're ready, they'll announce it. Ian Cooper, is my OSD chip blown? My OSD is suddenly not displaying. I tried toggling it on and off in Betaflight, changing all the settings. Everything looks good. UART MSP setting looks fine. Wait a minute. Ian Cooper, do you have analog or do you have digital? You said UART MSP suggests digital. Everything else you said suggests analog. Which is it? Egg Manila, thank you for a $5 super chat. My big boy job is aerospace engineer, lead small UAS pilot. That's awesome. I've used your tutorials more than anything from my degree. I'm super happy to hear that. Spencer FPV asks, do you know if one of the Betaflight 4.4 nightly build targets from that link you shared will work for the MOB 7 ELRS? I'm pretty sure it will, Spencer, because those build targets were all of the generic targets. Like any Betaflight flight controller should have one of those targets. So I have, by the way, a tutorial coming, Spencer. I just recorded it today, so it'll be coming later this week. I have a tutorial coming for about how to get ExpressLRS 3.0 working with Betaflight 4.4 on an SPI receiver. Okay. We are caught up on Super Chats. That's amazing. That's fantastic. Since we're caught up on Super Chats, and since we're now coming to the middle of the stream, I would like to just take a second to plug my pluggables. Starting with FPVKnowItAll.com. It's my version of LTTstore.com from Linus Tech Tips. Ultimate FPV Shopping List is not a store because running a store requires you to have inventory and customer service. Instead, I've just taken links to other people's stores and made a website out of them. Whatever you're looking for in FPV, as long as it's one of the things in these categories. So 7-inch cruisers? Nah, I don't have that. But whatever you're looking for in these categories, these are my suggestions for parts that will not let you down. And yeah. So check this out if you're looking for product suggestions. Try really hard to keep it up to date and do it. That's got to go, though. That's got to get replaced. Try really hard to keep it up to date, although it's not easy in this day and age. And yeah. Now, one of the other things that's hard in this day and age, that's fpvknowitall.com. Got to say the name of the website. One of the other things that's hard in this day and age is finding stuff that's in stock. That's why me and Eirik Toft, he's the developer, made searchfpv.com. Searchfpv.com is a multi-store FPV product search engine. So you can pick the stores that you want to search, like Makerfire. I'm not shopping at Makerfire. I don't know. Nothing wrong with Makerfire. I'm just being silly. I'm going to turn these stores off. I don't like those Rotor Riot kids. I don't like them one bit. And then you can search for whatever you're looking for. And it'll search all those stores. We've added a few stores in Europe, and more are coming. And then it shows you what's in stock and out of stock and the pricing. So searchfpv.com. Check that out. And is that it? Oh, Control Shift T. I closed the window that was monitoring the live stream. Should be okay. There we go. Yeah. So, is that it? What else do I usually plug? That's about it, I guess. I am Gross98 asks, looking forward to a toothpick section on your Ultimate FPV shopping list. Yeah. So we have that page roughed out, and it's coming soon. Toothpick section is coming soon. So Cool. Thank you, EDC Level, for a $10 super chat. Thanks for years of feeding my quad building addiction. Sensei. Lol. Thank you very much for your donation and for watching the content. Do you think DJI will ever make a really good controller for FPV? Asks Boys FPV. I think the DJI V1 controller is quite good. Battery life is exceptional. Range is good. It's not super programmable, but many people are fine with that. Build quality is great. I feel like the DJI V1 controller is great. They're not going to make anything like too far out of their wheelhouse, though. They're not going to make an Express LRS flight controller or anything like that. KitBuilt asks, will the Taranis X9D work properly with an Express LRS module, or will it require modification? No, it'll work properly. It'll work just fine. I recommend anybody who is using Express LRS put EdgeTX on your radio, because EdgeTX has some ELRS specific upgrades and changes. But flash EdgeTX and you're good to go. Marcel Off-Axis FPV asks, is there a way to unlock the TBS Crossfire 69? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Is it just the same button press sequence that you use on the Unify? I think so, but I'm not sure. It's been a while since I used the 69. The QX7 needs the inverter chip, 661 FPV. Does the X9D need the inverter chip? I'm surprised to hear that. 661 FPV, I wouldn't have thought that the X9D required the inverter mod. Am I wrong about that? I'm looking up the Crossfire 69, the 69 manual. You're right. There's only one occurrence of unlock. Huh. That's not right. That's not right. Well, that's interesting. I must not have had to unlock it. The Access QX7s don't require a mod. I'm pretty confident about that. So yeah, that's nice, but no. Please consult the manual on unlocking. There's no unlocking procedure in the manual, though. So then, do you plug it into USB and unlock it using the Agent app? That's something. Does anybody know the answer to this? I'm pretty sure that if you are using the TBS VTX control, then you don't need to unlock it. I'm not sure about the 69. Yeah, One IFPV confirms. If you use the My VTX function, you do not need to unlock it. It just works. But what if you're using Smart Audio? If you're using Smart Audio, does it lock? Layman Board FPV, that is the button press to unlock a Unify, but the 69 only has a bind button. It doesn't have a button for the VTX section. EasyT asks, are you going to do a review on the TBS Source 1 V5? I don't know about that. I'm not usually super excited about a frame review all by itself. It does too support Smart Audio, One IFPV. That is definitely not right. It absolutely supports smart audio. 100% guarantee that's true. It didn't at launch, but they updated the firmware. So... Marcel says, mine is set to max power. I flew in open air about 1 kilometer away and was getting breakup. That doesn't seem that preposterous to me, Marcel, depending on what kind of situation you were in. Ian Cooper finally gets back to me with his question about the OSD. It's digital OSD from a Babyhawk HD. Okay, so Ian, there is no OSD chip with a digital with a digital video system. It's all done via the UART. It is possible for the diodes on the TX and RX lines to burn out, and then the OSD doesn't work, and that could have happened to you. Black Jungle 308, thank you for 5, I believe they're reais. I got myself a Diamond F4 0802 motor, some 65mm props, and plan on shoving the Eachine T06 camera in the build. How bad were my decisions? I'm a big fan of the Diamond F4 flight controller. 0802 motors, 65mm props, and I don't know about the Eachine TX06. That's the only part of the build that I'm not, like, super confident about. But everything else you said sounds fine to me. Which motors did you get and what KV? That's a question. Chris, thank you for a $10 super chat. The Emax Hawk 5 has this problem in your video, but I wasn't able to find the right target to fix it. Well, let's see here. Which video are we talking about? This better not be a Rickroll. It's not. So this is what he linked me to. That's on purpose. Load firmware. Flash firmware. Yeah, I bet you it's going to work now. Configuration. T-Shot 600. Very interesting. I really would have thought that would be disabled, but okay. T-Shot 600. Go to the motors tab. Plug in and pinch that motor. Oh, man, look at my old furniture back before I had these awesome... oh, there's Christian Mollica's book, too. Nice. Old times. Good times. These are also good times. And I understand the risks. Propellers are removed. Let's spin them motors. Bingo. All 4 motors are... Okay, so I'm... Chris, I'm a little confused. You've linked me to this video where I fixed the problem, but I'm not sure what your problem is. I can't remember. We had this target problem. Chris, I'm not clear on what the problem is that you're trying to fix because you don't have the Talon flight controller. So this fix was very specific to the Talon flight controller. You have one motor that doesn't spin. Okay, that's a different situation though. Chris, did it ever spin, Chris? Did it ever spin? Or did it come out of the box not spinning? It does beep 3 times, but not the last 2. Did it ever spin, Chris? We got stream delay. James Jeffcoat, thank you for a $5 super chat. Where can I find replacement screws for the Cadix Nebula Nano? They came out. James, they're just M2 screws. Go to Amazon, buy an M2 screw assortment. Anything from 4mm length up to, like 20 millimeters. Just search Amazon for M2 screw assortment, and then you'll have various lengths of M2 screws, and you'll have everything you need. Don't try to buy the exact replacement screws. Buy an assortment because you never know what frame you're going to put it in and what length screw is going to be right for you. Chris says, it was new out of box. I had it forever, and I'm trying to get into FPV again. The motor never spun. So, Chris, you're in a tough situation here. If you buy an Emax Hawk 5, it's new out of the box, and the motor doesn't spin, don't try to troubleshoot it. Don't try to fix it. Ask the store you bought it from, or ask Emax to send you another one. You got a broken product. It should work out of the box, right? But if it's months and months ago that you bought it, you may be outside of the normal return window, and you may end up have to troubleshoot it. Chris, what I'm going to suggest is I've got another video that I want to suggest to you, which is quadcopter motor twitching. What next? Bad motor or ESC troubleshoot? So this video is going to take you through the process of figuring out whether your ESC, your motor, or your flight controller is bad. Based on what you're describing, Chris, it sounds like your flight controller, the signal connection between the flight controller and the ESC is broken. So you should check the plug that goes from the flight controller to the ESC and see if there's a bent pin or a broken wire or a missing pin. It's really unlikely to be the configuration of the flight controller because this is a bind and fly. Is it literally straight out of the box, or like years ago, did you screw with the flight controller and maybe misconfigure it, right? I doubt the flight controller is completely dead, Mike Bergman, because he says the other three motors spin. So that's the direction I would steer you, Chris. But don't worry about the motors. The motors are fine. It's either the flight controller resource assignment being messed up. That's unlikely. The flight controller signal output, the pin inside the header going to the ESC, the wire going to the ESC, the pin in the ESC header, or the signal input on the ESC. That's pretty unlikely. Something in that path is not letting signal through. One IFPV asks, quad won't arm with the RPM filter flag. I turned off bidirectional and it works. Is it a bad ESC? Probably not. Probably the ESC just doesn't support a bidirectional D-shot. Like, is it a BLS ESC? Doesn't support bidirectional then. You have to flash, the Blue Jay firmware on it. Need a little more bourbon. I'm getting the hiccups. Timing's about right. Maybe that's why it was in the box, Chris. Chris, maybe the Hawk was in the box for years because it was effed up when you, or maybe you effed it up. I don't know. But maybe that's why it was sitting in the box for years. That's a good quad, though. I think it's worth trying to get working. One IFPV, it was working fine, but now it's not. It had RPM filtering before a crash. Oh. Yeah. So what error percent are you seeing? So turn RPM filtering back on. What error percent do you see in the motors tab? I mean, it worked okay, but 661 FPV is right on the money. It worked fine before I crashed it. What could be wrong? You definitely broke something in the crash, that's for sure. Quad City Bay Area, thank you for a $2 super chat. I'm stumped. I have the Lux AIO flight controller with the HDR LRC LED. I can't get controls. Quad City Bay Area, I think you have a receiver that you can't get controls working. This is the kind of problem that is going to be better troubleshot over email or on a one-on-one basis than try to go through it with you. Because I'm going to say, send me a picture of your wiring. Send me a picture of your ports tab. What receiver do you have? Is it bound? We're going to go down this whole troubleshooting tree, and we just can't really do that very effectively on a live stream. So Quad City Bay Area, email me, joshuabardwell@gmail.com. We'll work through it. TSC Futsal Academy, thank you for a $2 super chat. What tune should you do on a flight controller that runs 3.2 kilohertz? TSC, there's nothing different you need to do if it runs 3.2 kilohertz, as long as you're on Betaflight 4.3. Betaflight 4.3 has built-in filter settings that are correct for the BMI 270 gyro that runs at 3.2 kilohertz. As far as the PIDs go, I don't think there's any significant difference, and you don't need to worry about it. Cool Cat, thank you for that. I did have my speaker volume up. Appreciate you letting me know. I had missed that. Let's see here. Okay. Quad City Bay Area. I can't decide if you're having a problem with your receiver or your LEDs. Let's see here. Let's see here. Cassius says, I've had 4 H7 flight controllers die. I've had 4 H7 flight controllers die on power up on first flights, multiple quads, no response from the manufacturer. Well, let's name and shame, Cassius. Who's the manufacturer? Who is it? Meanwhile, while we're waiting for that answer, Flight 1. Cassius, I'm sorry to say, Flight 1 is no more. They're not responding. You just write them off, dude. Write them off. They don't exist anymore. They still are, unfortunately, taking money. Apparently. Cassius. Oh, I remember what I forgot to plug. Perfect time. I forgot to plug my Livestream Clips channel, but there's the perfect time to plug it. Folks, if you are not able to watch every single bit of every one of my live streams, there is a way for you to get the highlights of my live streams. It's the Joshua Bardwell Livestream Clips channel. It's Plenty watches my whole live stream and extracts the best, juiciest bits and puts them up on the Joshua Bardwell Livestream Clips channel for you to watch. And I'm going there right now because I've got a video. This one, is Flight 1 still around? Why? Don't buy Flight 1. Flight 1 development and refunds. Michael, let me preface this. Okay. You don't have to watch the whole thing. But I'm going to paste a link there and feel free to check that out. In my opinion, Flight 1 is dead. They ripped off a shitload of people. They took their money. They didn't ship products. They keep saying, "Oh, don't worry, we're going to fill all these orders," and there's no possible way that they can fill those orders, in my opinion, because if they sold you a $50 flight controller a year ago, and they have said that they have orders as old as they have really old orders. At the end of 2021, Preston told me that they had orders from 2020, almost a year old. So if they sell you a $50 flight controller in January of 2022, and now it's September of 2022, they cannot fulfill that order, in my opinion, because the price of components has now priced them out. If they sell you a $50 flight controller in January of 2022, that flight controller might have $25 worth of components in it. By the way, nobody's selling $50 flight controllers, and I should roll the dates back, but that might have $25 of components in it and $25 of profit. But if they are unable to fulfill that order until September of 2022, now that $25 in components costs $45 or whatever. Prices have gone up so much that there is no way, in my opinion, there is no way they can afford to fulfill those orders, because they sold you $50 flight controllers in 2021, and today it would cost them that much or more, just their cost to make the flight controller, because that's how much components have gone up. So they have taken a bunch of people's money. They will never fill those orders because they can't afford to. In my opinion, they can't do that. And they should acknowledge that they are out of business and defunct. And they should take their website down, because right now you can still order product from their website that I don't believe that they will ever manufacture or ever fulfill. And every time they get pressed on it, they say, oh, we're working so hard. We've got chip shortages. Everybody in the industry has been affected by chip shortages. iFlight, Diatone, T-Motor, everybody else has managed to find a way to keep making flight controllers. Only Flight 1 somehow can't make any flight controllers. So F them, and I don't usually just rip into manufacturers. I usually try to maintain some level of professional decorum. But this is a case where I think they've really just completely crossed this blatant line where they're ripping people off. They've ripped people off. They've taken their money. They're not shipping, and they're not even acknowledging it and being honest and saying, "Listen, guys, we can't ship this." They're continuing to string people along. It is a complete scam and a complete grift, and it is completely unethical and probably illegal. Although I don't think anybody's ever going to actually get punished for it. The only thing you can do is stop giving them money. Your flight controllers are gone. It's good riddance. I'm sorry you lost your money, and get on with your life. And by the way, not to keep, I mean, I hashed this over last week or 2 weeks ago, and I'm not going to spend 40 minutes doing it again. I promise you I won't do that. But I just want to show you. One second. I got to screen clip this. I just want to show you. That after the live stream, I thought, you know what? If I'm going to spend 25 minutes or whatever on a live stream shit talking Flight 1, the least I could do is go to Preston and say, hey man, I'm going to tell you to your face. That's the honorable thing to do. And I told him, by the way, he hasn't responded. I don't think he's actually, according to this, he hasn't even read these messages. Interesting. He's not even read them. These are gray, not blue check mark. But that's how I usually communicate with him, is on Facebook Messenger. And I said, let me be blunt. You should take down your store and stop taking orders. And I was being incredibly generous by saying, until you have fulfilled back orders, because honestly, I don't think they ever will. But I told him to his face the same thing that I said on the live stream. So for the record. Okay. Moving on. I'm surprised he hasn't read that. That's really interesting. That's weird. Oh well. It is what it is. He didn't block me. I would know if he blocked me. I wouldn't be able to message him. Anyway, that's the answer to your question. I don't know why they died. If they're Flight 1, if you have Flight 1 hardware right now, it's gone. It's done. It doesn't exist. The company doesn't exist. That's what we should all tell ourselves and tell everyone else. So. Tag FPV wants to start some shit. How do you feel being wrong about DJI? Tag FPV. If I'm wrong, I'll say it. But I think you're responding to something I didn't actually say. What did I say? You're talking about backwards compatibility, right? You're talking about the backwards compatibility of the new Goggles 2 with the old Air units. What did I actually say? Did I say DJI is not going to do this? I did not say that. I'm not dumb enough to have said that, I hope. What I said was, I said two things. Number one, I said essentially, I predicted that the Goggles 2 would not have backwards compatibility at launch time, and I was right. That's the first thing I said. And that is true. Other people were saying that they were going to be backwards compatibility. Me and Blunty both never, I don't think, ever reported that. I can't be sure that at some point early on we didn't, but I don't think we did. And definitely as we got closer and closer to release and sort of things got more and more locked down, I was getting indications that they would not be backwards compatible, and that was where I settled. And I also said, when DJI said, oh, we're going to take community feedback, I said, wait and see. Don't believe it until they do it. I stand by that. When DJI says we're going to do something, don't believe it until they do it. When you have that feature in your hot little hands, enjoy it. But until they do it and you have it, don't believe them. And I stand by that today. Now, a world in which DJI said, we are going to do backwards compatibility is more likely to be a world where we get backwards compatibility. That's true. The odds of it, it's like quantum entanglement. Before DJI said they were going to do it, there was a 15% chance of it happening. Now that they've said they're going to do it, there's a 55% chance of it happening. And but it still isn't a done deal until they actually do it. Cole Powers, DJI never said they would release canvas mode for the V2 goggles. Cadix said that. That's not an accurate statement. I think we should absolutely hold DJI's feet to the fire for things that they said they would do that they didn't do. That's not one of them. So we need to get that straight. Now, let's play this forward. In December they said roughly the December time frame. Okay, fine. In December of this year, DJI comes out with a firmware that makes the goggles backwards compatible with the original Air unit. Yay! They did it! I still wasn't wrong. See how beautiful it is that I can spin it in a way that I'm always right? Because the general guidance of don't believe DJI is going to do something until they do it is still correct. The fact that sometimes they actually do it doesn't change the fact that that advice is still the correct advice and the correct attitude to take when thinking about how to spend your money based on your expectation for what DJI will do in the future. And anybody who has any experience with DJI will tell you the same damn thing because they have seen it before. Ken Herron will tell you the same thing. Mads Tech will tell you the same thing. So, if you can find a clip of me saying DJI will not do this, then that will have been wrong. I don't think I said that. And the other thing that I've seen is that they will give you what you want, but it will contain some bitter pill that has something you don't want. And that's how they get you to take the bitter pill. So right now, DJI says, we're going to give you backwards compatibility. And in your mind, you come up with this scenario where you get everything you want. The O3 goggle is compatible with the Vista. It's compatible with Air Unit. It's compatible with this, that. Everything is fantastic. What if it doesn't go that way? What if it's like when they said we were going to get USB video out in the V2, in the FPV goggles V2, and we were all like, yay, including me. We're going to get it. They're going to give it to us. And when it showed up, it only did video out to a phone with the FPV drone, not with the Air unit. Oh, we all assumed we were going to get what we wanted. They technically did give us what they said they were going to give us, but it wasn't what we wanted. So, until DJI becomes a different company, which they're not going to do that. They are who they are. The advice of don't believe it until DJI actually does it will never be wrong. I will always be right to give that advice. And as Billy Ocean points out, right now what we have is a marketing person telling Nurk and Drew that they can go public with the fact that DJI is going to do that. We don't even have a statement like from DJI corporate or anything. So we've seen it happen before, more than once. that somebody in DJI says, yes, X is going to happen or X is true. And then it turns out they were wrong. So I'm not saying it's not going to happen. And I'm saying that the odds of it happening are significantly greater. Yay! I'm so happy that DJI has said they're going to do this. That's amazing. I can think of a lot of reasons why they wouldn't do it. And they said they're going to do it. It probably will happen. But until it happens, I'm not holding my breath. Okay, anyway. There you go. And I'm gonna be honest with you. It is specifically me getting burned by DJI telling me that the goggles, the V2 FPV goggles would have USB video out. And I went public with that. I said DJI told me that. I put my reputation behind that statement. And then it turned out to not work like everybody, including me, assumed it would work. And I feel like I got burned because I took them at their word that they were saying the thing I thought they were saying that seemed obvious to me. But then when it turned out the feature came, it wasn't at all what I expected. And I got burned by that. And I was like, okay, I see how it is. And now that's why you see the attitude that I have. And everybody else who has ever worked with DJI, when DJI started coming out with FPV products and I started covering it, I got several messages from people who had worked with DJI before, and they were like, listen, you need to have your freaking wits about you. This is not as all wonderful as it seems like it is. They will do things that screw you in ways that you don't expect. And I was like, huh, interesting. And that was the first time that happened to me. And I don't think that DJI is dishonest. I think that they make great products that I use and enjoy using. I just think that you have to, have that face kind of the whole time you're looking at them. And then when they release a new product, you go, thank you. This is a really good product. Oh my God, it's so good. Can I have this other feature? Maybe. Okay. Anyway. Okay. So. But if it turns out that it happens, I will be thrilled because that's a great feature and I want it. Because I don't want to have to carry 2 sets of goggles. I want to have 1 set of goggles that works with all my DJI drones. So that'd be great. I would be thrilled if it turned out that happened. David Skinner, thank you for $16.99 New Zealand dollars. David asks, I'm about to go digital. What are the differences between the Air Unit Micro, Nebula Pro Nano, Air Unit Lite, Nebula Pro Vista? I want one in my tiny trainer, regular 5-inch builds and a 533 race quad. Okay, so David, with DJI, there are the video transmitters and there are the cameras. There are basically 2 video transmitters, the full-size Air Unit and the Vista, although the Vista and the RunCam Link are the same. When you look at them, you can see there's 2. There's the big one and the small one, okay? I'm going to call the small one the Vista, but it's known by other names like Air Unit Lite, but everybody just calls it Vista, okay? So then you've got the video transmitter, and then you've got the camera. There's various cameras you can get with them. I'm going to refer you to my website, which has a page, the DJI page. And hang on, David Skinner. If you look at this page, you can find a summary of the different, Air Units, Vista, and then cameras, and a breakdown of the difference between the different cameras and the ones that I suggest you consider. Okay? So that's where I'll steer you there. Okay. Quad City Bay Area, what's your take on the Walk Snail firmware retract? Thank you for a $5 super chat, Quad City. Yeah, I know one of the pilots who had the blackouts. Walk Snail pulled the 27 firmware because they had a couple of reports of pilots having blackouts during flight. I'm not going to say, as far as I know, the pilot hasn't gone public, and so I'm not going to name the pilot or give too many details about what happened, but basically, during flight, boom, the video just goes black. And he said, oh no, I revealed that it was a male. Oh well, that narrows it down. He said that he was lucky to not like smash a window. It just blacked out. People on Facebook have been like, it was probably somebody who didn't know how to build a quad and the voltage regulator dropped out. That's not the case. This person absolutely knows what they're doing. And if they're reporting that the video is ran, and this person has fairly extensive experience with the walk snail system. So if they're reporting that the system randomly blacked out on them, I don't think it's like, oh, they just don't know how to build or something dumb. So I think Walksnail did the right thing by pulling it. If there's a chance that it has a bug that causes video blackouts, then they should absolutely pull it. And it sucks that they had to do that, but I'm glad they did it if there's a bug in it. Black Jungle 308. Thank you for 10 Brazilian reais. I've got myself some 0802 19,000 kV motors. That's a fine kV for a tiny whoop. Probably, if it's heavy, you probably don't want to use tri-blades, maybe bi-blades, but a whoop, but dead cat style with the battery behind the flight controller, not under it. Yeah, it's going to be significantly off balance, isn't it? I don't know about that. It wasn't Drew, Jason. I'll go out of my... Everybody's just going to blame Drew for everything, but it wasn't Drew. Jesse FPV, thank you for being a patron. Jesse asks in the Discord, I built another quad today. I cut one motor wire short and I had to extend the wire. Should I worry about extra resistance or anything? No, it's fine. As long as you have a good solder joint, it's fine. I hate doing that. And I always try to cut my motor wires a little too long rather than a little too short, just in case I screw up. If I have to extend motor wires, I usually use race wire, although I don't put race wire on all my builds. But I'd rather use race wire than have kind of a janky solder joint in the middle of the motor wire. That's what I would say. We're caught up on the super chats. Fantastic. Let's see here. We got a link here from Aber the Ham from Mads Tech. No. Please don't play music. 5:45. Oh, you can hear the crickets through my window. I just noticed that.
Why it still may not happen. And just to give you an idea on this, just to tell you a little story, the Inspire 2 launched after the Inspire 1 with an all-new camera system. The Inspire 1 had the option of using the Osmo to actually have a handle for the camera. So take the camera off the drone and use it as a camera. And you had an Osmo Pro, which allowed you to put the X5 on that. Or the X5R, if you had one of them. At the launch of the Inspire 2, in all of DJI's publicity and on their website for the following almost 3 years, they said they will be bringing a ground-based handle for the cameras on the Inspire 2 as well. After about 3 years, they edited the website to take it away, and it never happened. So, even when they publish stuff, it doesn't necessarily happen. With the launch of the Inspire 2 was another product called Track Antenna. You may not have heard of this. They launched it and then deleted it within 2 months because no one bought it. It was launched at the same time as the Inspire 2. No, actually, I think it was launched at the same time as the Syndense remote, actually, not the Inspire 2. And again, full documentation, it never existed. So there are times and times again where DJI say things and it hasn't happened. They said, one of their reps said they're going to bring ProRes RAW support for the X5S on the Inspire 2. Never happened. So the reality is this. Until it happens, it doesn't exist.
Bingo. Thank you, Madstech. Madstech has a lot more experience with DJI than I do. And thank you to Aber the Ham for giving me that link to the live stream with those examples. That's what I'm talking about when DJI says we're going to give you backwards compatibility. And I say, don't believe it till it happens. That's what I'm talking about. There are ample examples of times when DJI has indicated in every real way that they will do something and then don't do it. That's fine. You got to know, listen, guys, got a lot of guys out here. Guys, sometimes you meet somebody and you go, this is the kind of person who 3 months from now, she's going to key my car. And we're going to, and you're like, okay, I know what I'm getting into. This is going to be a fun 3 months. Ladies, I'm sure there's a male equivalent of that. Okay? You got to know what you're getting into in this relationship with DJI. This is a good relationship. You're going to have a good time. You're going to fly some amazing drones. You just got to know that when they say, don't worry, I'm going to do this thing. Nah. Anyway. Just Tech Guy Things wants to know, would you rather have 1080p black and white or 360p color? I bet that the human eye is more sensitive to luminosity changes than color changes. I bet that you would fly better on 1080p black and white. So. My point is not that DJI is like a psycho girlfriend. My point is that you got to know what you're getting into in every relationship. And if you know what you're getting into, things that could be a downside, you just are like, okay, I'm not going to count on that. I'm going to just sort of around that. Is it worth the extra money for the 120 FPS DJI cameras? In my opinion, I think so. I think so. Those cameras generally have better image quality anyway. So. Kevin Webb says, would you be concerned if you hear the initial 3 ESC beeps twice every time you plug in? No, Kevin. Usually that just means the ESC is a little out of sync. One of the ESCs is starting later than the others. However, I've been hearing, and tell me, I don't know how I'm going to track this down. More than one person has told me that ever since they flashed Betaflight 4.3, they're getting the startup beeps twice. And I had one of these people, I said, can you pinch the motor and see if you literally feel doo-doo-doot, doo-doo-doot, doo-doot? Because if you had 2 ESCs and they were out of sync, one could go doo-doo-doot and the other could go doo-doo-doot. But they pinched the motor and they said they could feel the ESC making the startup beeps twice. What's weird about that is I can't imagine any way that the flight controller could cause that to happen. Because the startup beeps are 100% controlled by the ESC. But multiple people, Allmac FPV says it, multiple people are saying that when they flashed Betaflight 4.3, it made the startup beeps happen twice. I don't see how that's possible. There's something about the way the ESC works that I don't understand, and I don't like it. So anybody here who's an expert on how BLHeli 32 startup works, how is it possible that Betaflight 4.3 is causing the initial 3 startup beeps to happen twice? I don't see, because those startup beeps happen, the flight controller doesn't even have to be plugged in, and the ESC will go doo-doo-doot. So I don't see how the flight controller could cause that. But I don't think it's a problem. It just is fine. And I don't think you need to worry about it. Quad City Bay Area, thank you for a $5 super chat. 1 year from now, how can you make a workaround video for remote ID without getting in trouble? Oh, I have some ideas. Don't you worry, my friend. I have some ideas. But that's all in the future. Right now, there's no quads that have remote ID, so I don't know how. You don't need to worry about it. Hashinui asks, what do you think about the new TronCat FPV budget build under $200? I saw that today. I want to start by looking at, look at this. This son of a, I'm not going to cuss on stream, but TronCat, 1.8 million views. Build a freestyle drone. I don't know what you did to get 1.8 freaking million views. I don't have a single video with that many views. 1.8 million views. My biggest one is probably my original perfect freestyle build. No. 471,000 views. That's probably my biggest build video. This is the latest one. 88,000. That's not bad. It's not as old. Budget build. Full tutorial. That's actually pretty damn good. 479,000 views. Holy shit. I actually didn't think I didn't know that. That's pretty good. Still not 1.8 million, but that's like in the same league. So that's respectable. Anyway, so TronCat, I don't know, man. Kudos to you. Whatever you did, build a freestyle FPV drone for $150. You freaking nailed it. Hang on. You're right. I can sort by popularity. Let's see. Videos, sort by most popular. 563K views. That's my top video. Huh. Yeah. 315,000 on the DJI FPV drone. Betaflight GPS Rescue. What the flip? How is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 most popular video. The hell? Interesting. Interesting. That's also, you know what else is interesting? Ouch. I guess it makes sense that they're older videos. 11 months. How long before we get to a video that was made in the last year? Well, the DJI drone one, I guess that wasn't last year, technically. 2 years, 2 years, 11 months. Here we go. 192K views 11 months ago. Interesting. Interesting. This is interesting. Wow. 5 years ago. I always look at other people's channels, and when all of their popular videos are from like 5 years ago, I'm like, that channel's dead. 1 year ago. 3 years, 3 years. Got to get on the ball. Of course, the oldest videos will always have a lot of views because they've had more time to gather views. But here's a 1 year ago. 161K. It's not, Timberline, it's not lower views these days versus 2020. I mean, it might be. You would need to, because this video has been around longer, so it's gotten more views because it's been around longer. Oh my god. Eachine Wizard X220. Garbage. Garbage. Interesting. Anyway, what was I, we were looking at TronCat's build. Good for you, TronCat. Whatever you did freaking worked, and you got 1.8 million views. You deserved every bit of it. You son of a bitch. Well, let's look at the parts here. Parts list. Source 1 V3. That's fine. That's a good frame. Source 1 V4. I mean, the Source 1 V5 is out. Speedy B F405 V3. That's a great choice for a budget flight controller these days. There aren't a lot of them in that price range. Emax Eco Motors, solid. Foxio Razor Mini camera. What's that come in at? $20. That's solid. JHMC VTX. I probably... Oh, $15. I think that there's an Emax VTX... 600 milliwatts. I don't know. I would probably upgrade the VTX. That's pretty important. That's solid. That's a solid build. I'm kind of surprised it comes in at $200, but I'm sure he's done the math. So, would it really come in under $200? 70 plus 20, 15. Source 1 V3, $27. Oh, wow. It's that flight controller that's really going to save him. Being able to get a flight controller that cheap is pretty... Plus 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, $13 motors. Is that it? That's $185. Oh, and the receiver. The receiver, $12. Yeah, $196. He got it under $200. That's really kind of impressive, to be honest with you. Yeah, that's solid. That's a solid parts list. Good job. Wait a second. No, I'm sorry. That's the 2021 version. My bad. Why am I looking at the 2021? No, I'm sorry. I was looking at the 2022. Pretty impressive. Pretty solid. Yeah. See if it gets 1.8 million views. We are coming to the end of the stream, folks. It's 10 o'clock. Ciati's going to be streaming in just a minute. I got a super chat I got to get out of the way here. Kevin Jameson, thank you for a $5 super chat. Tips to protect the drone and fly in light rain. Conformal coating is the answer. Anything to protect the connectors of the motor. Kevin, the motors don't need protection from water. They're already electrically insulated. The bearings may take a little bit of damage if they're allowed, especially with salt water, but a little rain won't hurt them too much. So conformal coating is the way to go. Stevens Box, thanks for a $5 super chat. Switch from TBS Mambo back to my Taranis X9D for the gimbals. Tempted to buy the Radio Master TX16S Mark II with the AGO1 gimbals. Is it worth it? I think the AGO1 gimbals are 1,000 times better than the Mambo gimbals. The Taranis X9D, if you have the Hall effect gimbals, they're not terrible. The AGO1 gimbals are absolutely not mandatory, but they do have a little bit of solidness that plastic gimbals won't have. Anyway, that is going to do it. Folks, that is going to do it for the stream. Ciati, have a great stream. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the FPV news and throughout the week. Happy flying, everybody.